Hey guys, how you doing? We're going over the Truck and Xfinity Series contests and pretty much race reviews from Las Vegas. I apologize it's coming out on Friday, but I've had a lot of just personal things going on with a ill family member. So like there's that. Can't really help that. So like I said, I apologize for the wait. Now, while I have been busy and doing other things and everything, we do have we officially have the contest review and lap analyzer on the site. So I will be using these through TrueDFS to show you guys how we do that. Yet again, it's the same that we've been seeing on the previous races and stuff. And yet again, you can get this by getting any of the packages through us. If you just want the NASCAR packages, you'll have access to this one here. And so if we're looking specifically at the truck race from Las Vegas, all you got to do is go here and it'll load all the data for you. We'll see everything for that. We'll see the race results, and now yet again, practice for the truck series at Homestead is in like an hour. Okay, so I doubt anybody will watch this, right? But if you are watching this, or maybe you're thinking out loud of what you can expect to see at Las Vegas or at Homestead, it's going to be very similar to Las Vegas. Now, this was probably the best. I was very happy with my approach on all three races. Yet again, this is my show, so I can talk about it and review however I want. Lost the optimal at the very end of this race when Luke fell through the field, which we look at the finishing order here. I believe Luke finishes like 24th or something. So he finishes 23rd, loses a ton of positions late in this race on the last couple laps, and Matt Mills ends up being optimal, which we'll take a gander at that. But I was very, very happy to pretty much have or hold the optimal for 48 of the last like 50 laps or whatever, right? Very, very happy with this approach. Everything that I pretty much said happened here. When we're looking at where people are in terms of speed, okay, and you look at where these guys are at in terms of their practice speed and where they fall in line at and stuff, and where we're expecting them to be at, like you can't fake speed at these racetracks. Now, regardless of what people say, Las Vegas, Homestead, Dover, Michigan, Darlington, okay? The same things apply at these racetracks. They all wear very heavily. Tire wear is a major factor in all of these, okay? So you're going to have similar skill sets needed for all of these races. This is where I was at in terms of my lineups for this race here, okay, for the Trucks of Las Vegas and stuff. And Williams Wallace hits the wall right off the bat, right like directly like on like lap 8, right? We'll go here and look at Williams Wallace, and this is where he hits the wall. And we do see all the yellows and stuff. You see that he gets 2 fast laps. So I do believe all this is accurate now that we've pretty much gone through and made sure everything. So we see the yellows and stuff and how this race goes to the end. But he smacks the wall like right off the bat and destroys the car. And I mean, even the fact that he's able to get back to 22nd at the end of the day, pretty impressive and stuff like this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and look at your fastest contenders here, or the race finishes, or the race results, right? Now you can go back and do this. I'm just doing it on the second screen, so it's easier, so we're not losing anything here. But very similar to what we discussed on Monday's video of the Cup Series. For the most part, or for the most point, the people who are going to carry speed are going to carry speed regardless of where they start. Let me go here. So we look at Corey. If I can spell his stupid name right. We look at, if this will load here, we look at Grant. We look at Tanner. We look at Ty Majeski. And we're going to go ahead and throw in Lane Riggs as your top 5 finishers in this race. And notice how all these guys were able to drive up through the field in this race as the race came to them and stuff, specifically during the beginning part of the race. Like, it is always important to see where these people fall in line at. Also, this is why we don't really we'll look at Day, right? Like, I don't know why Day was so popular when he I mean, he's like a little infant, dude. Like, play the guys that are gonna show us, you know, good lap times. When we look at the percentage of these guys running in the top 5 and the top 10, you know, running positions in these races, I mean, these are the people we're wanting to focus on. When you have a high percentage of running in the top 5 and in the top 10 through these races, plus your laps, letting fast laps that these guys are scraping off, and plus you can see the DK points as well. It's going to be the same thing with Homestead. Like, you want to play the guys who are able to show speed, who are going to finish up front. And this is not working our way back. These are the people who I was very heavy on. You know, obviously, you know, a ton of people on Corey Heim, a ton of people, or let me change it. I had a ton of Corey Heim, a ton of Gray, a ton of Enfinger, right? Like, those are pretty much the main guys that I used, outside of a few lineups, you know, with the off chance of Day having a good day or Ankrum, you know, running into speed. The guys who finished up front were the guys that I had the most of and stuff. Okay. Now the second point that I try and look at, or when we look through these races of what we can learn, is where did the value plays go? That's Xfinity. Let me move this over here. How did the value plays perform? Okay, because yet again, when we're getting to a very similar grid and stuff, a very similar situation, like, we want to see where these people are performing and stuff. So if we look at, we are missing people here. We don't have. So that's well, we'll look at the 66, who was Luke. We'll look at Matt Mills. We'll look at Bailey Curry. We'll look at, yeah, we already have Luke up there. We have Matt Mills up there. We have Caden possibly up there. So we'll put Caden up there. And we will look at, so these are like your mid tier, and even Jack Wood. I mean, I know Jack crashes and stuff. But even when we're looking at, you know, kind of where these guys are at here, obviously Jack Wood crashes, right? But when we're looking at, you know, a race, yet again, very similar to what potentially can be found at Homestead, but when we're looking at a field of 31 drivers, right, you can't fake speed. The people who are going to be fast are going to be able to drive through the field. The other thing we're having to look at and build around, yet again, this is Luke right here, is what we do with, you know, your value plays, or what do you do with the, you know, the 6K ranges of guys who aren't just flat out punts but offer upside and offer speed, okay? And typically what we want to see from these guys is potential upside for place differential and or just speed shown throughout, you know, a run or whatever, right? And so in this race, the two guys who were able to show speed, you know, really up until losing positions and stuff, and even still, you know, Bailey Curry finishes 18th, but Bailey Curry has speed. Caden Honeycutt has speed, okay? We have Matt Mills, who, you know, gains positions late, and yet again, we have Luke, who just, you know, runs into a terrible long run speed here to end the race, and he ends up, you know, getting past and finishing last. But, like, these 5 drivers are, yet again, it was these guys who were kind of fighting, you know, for, you know, the best, you know, value or whatever in this race. But, like, these are the same guys who are going to be competing week in and week out, you know. That's why we play Jack Wood, because Jack Wood, you know, has similar upside to what these guys offer. Now, he actually didn't have a lot of speed in this race, which was just, you know, kind of how things happen. But we then look at somebody like Chris Wright. Well, Chris Wright was in the Xfinity Series. We then look at the, you know, back of the field here. You know, you look at good old Steven, who started and parked. Good for you, brother man. We have Josh Rayum. This is why, outside of laps that have a ton of, or outside of races that have a ton of laps, like a short track and stuff, it's very, very hard to play, you know, the cheapskates back here, especially when, and no two is, this is not, that's not Spencer Boyd. This is Nathan Beard. This is Nathan, and we are looking for Boyd is here. So this is Nathan stuff. So we have Steven, who's starting Parks. We have Josh Rayum, who, yet again, they're not able to really do anything. We have Tony, who is not showing really any speed worth anything at the moment, unless she's starting last. I mean, this long run speed of 23rd, really only playable if she's starting last. We typically have Spencer Boyd pit on the second lap that pit road is open. And the reason being is why we're looking at these compared to other people. So, like, we need raw points here. Now, we're going to have a lot of lines on here. Obviously, this is where these guys are at. We look at, you had Caden to here. You had Matt Mills to here. We're seeing a ton of things on screen. We know where we started. Just kind of going back to this. You look at the upside that Luke had, which I believe we can only have, 7 people on here at once. So we'll take these guys off here. Yet again, why take, the bad value plays who are down there, where we could just be taking the value plays, or like the slight pay-ups, who are going to give you, mid-pack finishes and stuff like that. And then we look at the fast lap analysis in this race. 24% came out of the top 10. Now, a lot of that is due to the fact that, like, Lane Riggs, Tanner Gray, Corey Heim were outside of the, top 10 when they got these laps. Like, we look at these here, it's like early Lane Riggs, Infinger, Matt Crafton, William, who's off sequence because he got damage and stuff. William grabs a lot of these guys up front. I mean, at that point, you have all the guys in the top here, or all the guys in the top 10, or at least where they should be here. Ankrum, Gio, Caden, Tyler Ankrum, and stuff like here. So, like, top 5 and not being the leader, yet again, things are pretty spread out in this race. So Ty Majeski gets a lot of the early laps in here. And then you also have, Corey Heim, who speeds on pit lane and has to go back up through the field multiple times. So, like, this is your distribution of where your fast laps came from. But you could also go through and see who had the fast lap on any individual lap through here, if you do want that. Now, let's go ahead and look at the contest review for this event, and then we'll do the contest review for the Xfinity Series really fast. Who is texting me over here while this loads? Give me a moment here. Yet again, this is available to anybody who has any of the packages through us, but you can also just get this through the NASCAR. What in the hell is going on? Okay, sorry about that. All right, I don't remember which one is which, so we're just gonna kind of shoot the hip here and figure out if this is the truck or not. And we're gonna have to see and wait. Is this gonna load? Let me pause really fast because I don't know how long it's gonna take. Hold on. Okay, it literally took, like, as soon as I hit pause, it loaded. So this is the Truck Series race. We'll look at the most duplicated lineups in this race. This is the big $10 contest. Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Infinger, Williams, Wallace, Day, and Luke were the most popular lineups. Now, yet again, a field of 31 cars. We're gonna naturally see more chalky lineups and stuff, and that's something we saw throughout the entire week of like clear guys you had to play, clear routes to build and stuff, and so we're kind of dealing with a lot of duplications in this race. And so even when I was winning, when I had the optimal, I think it was like $4,800 between the 10, 5, 4, and 1 that I was winning here. We look at the highest combination of drivers in here. Now, yet again, applying this to a future race or something like that, you can look at where people are starting and stuff here. What is going on here, dude? Give me a moment here. Hold on a minute. Hold on 1 minuto. Did I find any issue here? Let's check out. Gotta come back and check out or fix the driver combinations here. See if it loads. See if it loads correctly. Doing this live. Okay, so we need to fix that. Megrib. I think my stuff should. This is mainly what I want to do. Yet again, I've been running up and down the state of Texas this week, and so I actually haven't looked at this yet. So I know I was way over the field on Infinger, Caden, William, Lane Riggs, over Tenegray. I know for a fact I'm not going to have a lot of or I know for a fact I didn't do a really good job at not having non-duplication. Well, 25, 23, 22, 17, I mean, that's still not that bad, all things considered, of where we were at here. Lowest both my lineups were 2 duplications and stuff like here. Look at the final results for this group. So if we look here and we look at and also this is another thing that we added. You look at how well the groups are doing, which whatever. I mean, now we're like deep in the weeds and stuff like here. But like when you look at like F1, right? Like this is a situation where like everybody wants to talk fucking F1, right? And all these fucking people don't know literally what they're fucking talking about, because F1 is literally like the smallest ROI sport out there, and you can see it through situations like this, to where a lot of the times, like if you're an MMA guy and you don't have a good day, you're getting like absolutely crushed here. Whereas you look at the scoring distribution between yet again, going back with the group analysis of where we're looking at, where it's like small multi-users, single entry users, like this is why, just in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, if you're a single entry user, now granted you can have good days, but you're going to be, not performing nearly as well as, your large multi-entry guys who know what they're doing. Like, that's just how it is, okay? The distributions are fucking huge because literally these people don't know what they're doing, okay? Like, if you're not playing a lot of lineups, it comes down to, one, you might not have the bankroll to play a lot of lineups. You might not have the skill or knowledge to play a lot of lineups. And so, like, you typically just see that, MMA guys, like, typically tend to score better. They know what they're doing, so on and so forth. Score by duplication. Yet again, if you're, running unique lineups and stuff, obviously your range of outcomes is, like, drastically huge. Yet again, not the episode for it, but, if you play esports or F1 or fucking whatever, if you're getting non-duplicated lineups, hell, even MMA, or not MMA, even UFC or whatever, if you're getting non-duplicated lineups, your range of outcome is much greater than if you're playing the chalk lineups, okay? And so, hey, the cash lineups that are, being used by a lot of single entry guys, or, like the obvious plays and stuff, are clearly going to be scoring pretty decently well, because that's why they're duplicated, right? And stuff. Whereas, like, if you're unique, you have obviously a high chance of scoring very well or a high chance of scoring very poorly and stuff like here. And then you can go through and see how everybody performed and so on and so forth. And you can see what percentage of lineups they had. Now, yet again, this is going to change based on whatever slate you're using, okay? But this is a great way to, maybe not a great way, because obviously results and stuff are, you can use whatever factor you want to use as who's a good player or who's not a good player. But if you go through and look at where people are finishing at, okay, what amount of lineups are finishing top, 1% or top 0.01%, top 1%, top 5%, top 20%, like, you typically want people who are finishing in this range here, okay? And then, yet again, over the course of, however long you're doing something or whatever, like maybe you want to be here like, hey, how decently good is, someone I'm following or someone who's getting stuff. Like, this is typically the stuff that I grade my own stuff at and stuff, obviously. So on and so forth. We got 20 minutes until the Xfinity Series starts. Let's go back and look at the lab-by-lab analyzer for the Xfinity Series at Las Vegas. So we'll go ahead and go here. We'll go ahead and look at the Lena, whatever the heck this thing was. Now, yet again, both these races went green, okay? I would expect very similar situations to Homestead as here. Now, yet again, we looked at, Allgaier, Eric Almirola being, your kind of favorite guys here. This is where I was at, so clearly I had a ton of Allgaier and Eric Almirola and Austin Hill. We look at where these guys finished first, second, fourth, with the place differentials baked in and stuff like here. This move here over Austin Hill and Sam Mayer was really, really huge for me. That was very, very, very important. That's very important stuff. Anyway, we look at the running position and stuff. Okay, so you look at, yet again, we'll just take a quick gander at the fast guys, so we can very easily see where these guys are at. If you remember in the live show, regardless of where people are at and stuff, or what track we're at, you literally just put in Austin Hill project to finish fourth, and you're going to be decently fine on projections. He finishes fourth literally at every type of track. That's why he's so important, and that's why when he's off in place differential, he is such an important play. Okay, now yet again, a lot of this slate. Now this slate really did come down to what happened in the value range, which we'll talk about that. As basically, if you were not one of these guys, you weren't really scraping out fast laps or laps led. You could argue Austin Hill was more of a place differential play. But you look at the, rest of this situation here where, Connor Zilic, gets to a speeding penalty at this point and falls out through the field. He was very much in play. Hey, Connor seems like he knows what he's doing. Obviously, right? You look at Creed. And sorry, I'm kind of going through all this as fast as possible. I am on a time crunch. Yet again, you can do it on your own now if this is live here. Go through and see how people performed at these races here. I mean, this is a great tool to use. A lot of things for you to look at and analyze here and stuff like that. What else? Let's see. I'm trying to think of other drivers to look at here. The main takeaway here is okay, when I'm reviewing a slate like this, obviously Allgaier, Eric Almirola, Connor, Hill, these guys were the best guys. Okay. These slates will always come down to what happens in the value range, okay? And so when we looked at who, people were playing in this value range, we were really spread out. Granted, now Poole was obviously your favorite guy because when you start 30th, he's going to finish 22nd, that's just what he does, okay? We look at Smithley, who was another popular play, slightly cheaper, but pretty much guaranteed, especially when you're starting 33rd, to at least get, 6 positions on the racetrack. You look at Josh Malicki, who blew a tire late in this race and was never really able to really gain a ton of stuff. Just kind of ran at 33rd. Once you go a lap down, you're kind of trapped there and stuff. But you look at the issue that Austin Green had, because a lot of people had Austin Green. That just put Austin Hill. That's not Creed. That's not Creed. Green. Austin Green. Okay, we're looking at the... so sometimes if they're added, this is pulling from what NASCAR has. So sometimes if they're not, if it's a driver change or added late to the thing, it'll just show their driver ID and not the driver. So here's Austin Green's thing until he ran into an issue. Pretty decent, especially when we go green. You can very easily see kind of where these guys are at. And again, you can't fake speed at intermediate tracks or high roll racetracks and stuff. These guys are starting where they should be starting and stuff. You look at Mason Massey, who had a fuel pump issue or a fuel pressure issue and stuff. Yet again, pretty decently able to drive up through the field once kind of everything circled out, and then obviously ran into a fuel pump issue and didn't continue throughout the race. I mean, this is really what is shaping the end of these races and stuff. You have Joey Gaze are kind of Min Price and stuff, starting 35th, finishing 33rd, You have Greg who, similar vein here until he ran into an issue and took it to the garage and stuff. Ryan Ellis is another guy we looked at here. This is why. So Ryan Ellis, yet again, ran into an issue, pitted late, was running 27th. This is why Ellis, Poole, Leland. This is where Poole's at. This is where Leland's at. Ryan Ellis is at. The guy who doesn't carry ownership because people are scared to play him. Especially when we look at we're looking at all the outcomes of these guys running into mechanical issues and stuff like that. Whereas Chris Wright. How does Chris Wright do in these races? How should he perform? If he's not being involved in a wreck, he's 25th. This is where he's at. It's just, is he going to wreck or not? Like, you can't be afraid of playing these guys based on the fact that, oh, they might wreck, oh, they're dangerous. Like Chris Wright, yeah. Chris Wright has a high chance of being involved in a crash, okay? But a lot of these shittier cars have a high chance of mechanical failures. And so when you look at everything and weigh it down on like, okay, Chris Wright has a, real 65% chance of being involved in a crash any given week because he's terrible, okay? But you look at, the distribution of outcomes for these other value plays, and it's probably similar, if not higher. Like Chris Wright, you either know he's going to wreck or finish 25th. The other guy's like, okay, mechanical failure or like finish 29th. Like, this is why you take, you play people like, Chris Wright. You can't be afraid to play people. We look at the contest and of how people played. And yet again, this is just the biggest contest for the sake of this video. If you're doing anything, like if you want to look at fours, if you want to look at the $4, $5, whatever you want to do, you're going to see much sharper players in the 5 and a sharper distribution of stuff. From my experience of seeing things, we gotta let this load. Also, I do gotta tell them that the driver combos is not working here. It's just gonna take a second, so give me a moment. We're gonna keep it live up here because last time I hit pause, it just, as soon as I hit pause, it showed up. So I'm just showing. And this will take just a few moments here, if it will. Should. Hope it does. I'm gonna hit pause again. I'll count how many seconds it takes for this thing to load. I did it again. Literally, I hit pause and it loads. Okay, so we look at the highest duplicated lineups in this race here. Allgaier, Creed, Ryan Sieg, Sammy Smith. Oh, yeah, I forgot Ryan Sieg and Sammy Smith. I mean, we're playing those guys anyway. We don't really need to analyze. Those guys are performing as we expected here. But, like, these are your most duplicated lines, which, interestingly, that we don't have a super higher one here, but, still interesting. Stuff here, obviously, you look at the distribution of these players here. So 26 MMA guys, 26 150 guys, 3 between 100, 149, so on and so forth. Yeah, we look at the driver combos. Let me see if this is broken again. Anyway, like I said, I apologize for doing this on Friday, but just that things happen. Yeah, we gotta fix that. I'll go ahead and take a gander at mine. Now, yet again, I had a ton of Mason Massey because he's Mason Massey in a Alpha Prime car. But I'm still fairly happy with where I was at in terms of the field, in terms of the good scoring guys here and stuff. So clearly way over the field, or not way, but over the field on the Allgaier, C, Creed, Eckes, Williams, Mason Massey, Anthony Alfredo. Got really lucky with Connor underperforming and, speeding, right? Like, Connor was probably going to ruin the slate for those of us who didn't have him. Filled him at 24. I had him at 10. But not too bad. We'll look at the final results of kind of where these guys are at here, as we did in the last one. Just because I always find this stuff very, very interesting and stuff. Like, I think you could learn a lot from just looking at this here, okay? Now, yet again, you looked at the truck race, and everything was kind of much closer. The distributions were kind of closer. Yet again, this is more similar to what you're typically going to see. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean. I think that's mainly it. I think that's really all we need to go over here. Yeah, that's mainly it. Pass out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Sorry this came out late. I know like 12 of you guys watched it, but either way, this is the review on these two races. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.